It was a slow evening at the grocery store, the kind where time seemed to stretch with the hum of conveyor belts and the distant chatter of shoppers. Olivia, a young cashier with a warm smile and kind eyes, had been working here for nearly 3 years. It wasn't her dream job, but she liked it well enough. It paid the bills, kept her busy, and most of all, she enjoyed meeting people. She believed kindness didn't cost a thing, and in a world that often felt cold and indifferent, she made it a point to be a little bit of warmth where she could. The store was winding down for the night, the aisles nearly empty, except for a few last-minute shoppers. That's when he walked in, a tall man with graying hair and tired eyes. He wasn't dressed fancy, just a simple jacket and worn-out jeans. He moved with an air of quiet dignity, his steps slow but steady. He didn't look like he belonged to any particular group of people. He wasn't visibly struggling, but he didn't seem well off either. Just another customer passing through, or so Olivia thought. He went about his shopping quickly, grabbing a few essentials, a carton of milk, some bread, a dozen eggs, and a couple of canned goods. Nothing extravagant, just the kind of groceries someone might buy when they were watching every penny. Olivia had seen customers like him before, people who made careful choices, checking prices twice, putting things back on the shelf with a quiet sigh. She had grown up watching her mother do the same. When he finally made his way to her register, Olivia greeted him with her usual warmth. "Good evening. Find everything okay?" The man nodded, offering a small polite smile. "Yeah, thank you." His voice was calm, but there was something in his tone, something heavy, like the weight of a long day sitting on his shoulders. She scanned his items, bagging them efficiently. As he reached into his pocket and pulled out his card, he slid it through the reader, and for a moment, everything seemed normal. Then the screen flashed. Declined. He frowned, shaking his head slightly, as if the machine had made a mistake. He tried again. Declined. A flicker of frustration crossed his face, quickly replaced by something else. Something Olivia recognized all too well. Embarrassment. The kind that burned in your chest, making you feel smaller than you were. He dug into his wallet, pulling out another card, his fingers slightly unsteady. He swiped. Declined. The air between them shifted, and Olivia could almost hear the unspoken words forming in his head. "This can't be happening. Not here. Not now." A few people were waiting behind him, their eyes shifting uncomfortably, pretending not to notice. But they noticed. Olivia knew this feeling well. When the world suddenly becomes too loud, too bright, when every second stretches unbearably long. The man let out a slow breath, rubbing a hand over his face. I don't understand. I just checked my account earlier today." He trailed off, staring at the card like it had betrayed him. Olivia had seen this happen before. It wasn't always about money. Sometimes banks froze accounts for no reason. Sometimes people forgot an unexpected charge had gone through. Whatever it was, she could tell this man wasn't just trying to get free groceries. He genuinely seemed blindsided. Without giving herself time to overthink, Olivia did what her heart told her. She reached into her own pocket, pulled out her card, and before the man could protest, she tapped it against the reader. The transaction went through, just like that. The man's head snapped up, his eyes wide. "Wait, no, you didn't have to do that." Olivia smiled, shrugging lightly. "It's okay. It's just a few things." His jaw tightened slightly, and for a second, she thought he might argue. But then his shoulders slumped, and he exhaled, almost like he was surrendering to the moment. "I'll pay you back, I promise." Olivia waved it off. "Don't worry about it." She meant it too. It wasn't about getting paid back. It was just the right thing to do. He hesitated for a second before nodding, his expression unreadable. Thank you. He picked up the bag, giving her one last glance before walking toward the exit. His steps slow, deliberate. Olivia watched him go, wondering if he would actually come back. Most people didn't. Not because they were dishonest, but because life had a way of moving forward, making small moments like this fade into the past. She figured this was just one of those things. A simple act of kindness. A small moment in a long day, soon to be forgotten. What Olivia didn't know was that this moment wouldn't be forgotten. Not by him. And what she definitely didn't know. The man she had just helped was a millionaire. Olivia didn't think much about the man after he left. The store had a steady flow of customers, and by the time she clocked out, she had already pushed the moment to the back of her mind. It was just one of those small, quiet acts of kindness, something she had done before and would probably do again. She didn't expect anything in return, and she certainly didn't expect to see him again. But life had a funny way of surprising people. The next evening, just as her shift was starting, Olivia noticed a familiar figure near the entrance. The same man from the night before stood there, looking around as if searching for someone. His posture was different now, more composed, more confident. When his eyes landed on her, he gave a small nod and started walking toward her. Olivia straightened, unsure what to expect. Maybe he really did come back to pay her back. That had happened once or twice before, though most people just moved on with their lives. "Hey," he said when he reached her register. "I was hoping I'd catch you." She smiled politely. "Hey, you didn't have to come back." "I did," he said, setting a small envelope on the counter. "I owed you." Olivia glanced down at it, hesitant. She wasn't the kind of person to expect repayment for things like this, but the way he looked at her made it clear he wasn't going to take no for an answer. She sighed, picking up the envelope and peeking inside. Her breath caught. There had to be at least $100 in there, way more than the groceries had cost. "This is too much," she said, shaking her head and pushing it back toward him. He didn't take it. "It's not." His expression softened. "You didn't know me. You had no reason to help me, but you did." He paused. "People don't do that much anymore." Olivia shrugged, feeling a little awkward. "It wasn't a big deal. To you, maybe," he said. But to me, it was. Something about the way he said it made Olivia pause. There was a weight behind his words, something unspoken. Before she could ask, he extended a hand. "I'm James, by the way." She shook it, still trying to figure him out. "Olivia," James nodded, glancing around as if debating something. Then, after a moment, he leaned in slightly. "I need to tell you something." Olivia raised an eyebrow, waiting. "I wasn't completely honest yesterday," he admitted. "I could have paid for those groceries." She frowned. "But your card, I cancelled it." He gave a small, almost sheepish smile. "On purpose." Olivia blinked. "Why would you do that?" James hesitated before exhaling. "Because I wanted to see something." She stared at him, confused. "See what?" "If anyone would help." His voice was quieter now, almost thoughtful. "I've spent most of my life surrounded by people who only do things when there's something in it for them. Money changes how people treat you, how they see you. I wanted to know if there were still people out there who acted purely out of kindness." He paused. "Turns out there are." Olivia wasn't sure what to say. It wasn't every day someone admitted to pulling a social experiment in the middle of a grocery store, but something about the way he spoke, the sincerity in his eyes, made her believe he wasn't doing this for some selfish reason. "Okay," she said slowly. "But why me?" James smiled, but there was something almost sad about it. "I don't know. Maybe I just got lucky." She studied him for a moment. "So, What now? He considered her question before finally saying, Now I want to repay the favor. Olivia glanced at the envelope again. You already did. James shook his head. No, not like that. There was a brief silence between them, thick with something unspoken. Olivia didn't know much about this man, but she could tell one thing for sure. This wasn't just about groceries. Something deeper was happening here. Something she didn't quite understand yet. And for some reason, she had a feeling this was only the beginning. Olivia didn't know what to say. The whole situation felt surreal. Just yesterday, she thought, she was helping a stranger in need. And now he was standing in front of her, telling her he had done it all on purpose. Not only that, but he wanted to repay her in a way that went beyond money. James could see the uncertainty in her eyes. He didn't blame her. It wasn't every day that a simple act of kindness led to something bigger. Most people would have taken the money and moved on. But he could tell Olivia wasn't like most people. Look, he said, leaning slightly against the counter. I know this is probably weird, but hear me out. I don't go around doing this kind of thing often, but I think there's a reason we crossed paths. Olivia gave a small laugh, shaking her head. You're making it sound like fate or something. Maybe it is, he smiled. Or maybe it's just a reminder that good people still exist. She studied him for a moment, still unsure where this was going. So, what exactly are you offering? James hesitated, choosing his words carefully. I've been fortunate in life, more than most. But the truth is, I spent years surrounded by the wrong people. People who only cared about what I could give them. You're different. You didn't even hesitate to help me when you thought I had nothing. That kind of kindness is rare. Olivia folded her arms, still skeptical. And James took a breath. And I want to do something meaningful with what I have. I run a foundation that helps people get back on their feet. Jobs, scholarships, mentorships. Whatever it takes to give someone a real shot at something better. I don't just throw money at problems. I invest in people. He met her eyes. I want to invest in you. Olivia's stomach flipped. Wait, what? James smiled. Tell me, Olivia. If you could do anything, be anything, what would it be? She stared at him, caught completely off guard. It was a question she hadn't let herself think about in a long time. I don't know, she admitted. I've been working here for years. I guess I just got used to making ends meet. James nodded, as if he understood that feeling all too well. That's what I want to change. No strings attached, no expectations, just an opportunity. Olivia hesitated. It was a lot to take in. Part of her wanted to say no, to tell him she didn't need charity. But another part of her, the part that had spent years dreaming about something more, only to push those dreams aside, felt something stir inside her. Why me? She finally asked. James smiled. Because you didn't ask for it. For a long moment, Olivia didn't say anything. She thought about her life, about the long shifts and the bills, and the feeling that she was always treading water, never really moving forward. Maybe, just maybe, this was the chance she never knew she needed. Finally, she exhaled and gave a small, almost disbelieving laugh. Okay, she said. What happens now? James grinned. Now, we see what happens when kindness comes full circle. And just like that, a simple act of generosity, one moment at a grocery store register, changed everything.